There are not many things in Pokemon games that stay out of rotation for a long time, especially since, well, remakes used to be a thing. Something you enjoy will probably and eventually make its return. But there is one thing that people have been asking for a long time and Game Freak hasn't yet budged. So hey, I'm not so a strainer, and what about the Eeveelution theory? Let's get into it. Eevee is one of the most popular Pokemon out there, even having the honor of being the mascot and starter of a main series Pokemon title. It looks cute, so that's a plus that it has, but the fact that it could evolve into 3 distinct Pokemon in Gen 1 just added to its popularity. Flareon, Vaporeon, and Jolteon all look really cool and offer you a pretty nice way to make your team yours after getting an Eevee. It all became even better when Gen 2 gave us Umbreon, my favorite of all of them, and also Espeon. Gen 3 didn't give us anything, but then Gen 4 gave us Glaceon and Leafeon, and once more they skipped Gen 5 and Gen 6 gave us 1 instead of 2, this time Sylveon. Everybody expected them to skip Gen 7 and give us something in Gen 8. Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, the Galar games based on the UK. Certainly they would do a Steel-type Eevee or a Dragon-type Eevee, or even just a Steel-type to be like a counter to Sylveon. But we got nothing, and then Gen 9 gave us nothing once again. Dreams were shattered and tears were shed, but we Pokemon fans are as stubborn as Gita is easy to beat. So we think it's coming now. The evolution theory is a little thing that is being used to argue for the possibility of new evolutions in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. To understand it, you need to boot your Pokemon Scarlet or Violet game, fly to Cabo Poco, and then go to Nemona's house. The stained glass at the door is probably what first started this, as it depicts Tropius, a tropical Pokemon shown in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves already. Still, there are Tropius in Paldea, so it shouldn't be that much of a big deal. But inside is where it gets juicy. There you find paintings, and one is of Ash's Greninja. While we didn't get Ash's Greninja in Gen 9 at all, the next game after Scarlet and Violet was an unexpected Kalos game focusing on Mega Evolution with Pokemon Legends ZA, where, well, Greninja got a Mega. Then there's a painting of a coral reef with some Luminion and Finion. In Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, we have the Deep Sea back, shown to us with Finion and Luminion, and also, you guessed it, many corals. So, could this painting of 2 Eevee also in Nemona's home mean that we have that to look for in Gen 10? In my reality-based opinion, no. I have a very sad feeling that there won't be any new evolutions in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. But if you ask me about the same thing, but in my Pokemon fan, baseless, completely not focused on reality opinion, well, yes, of course, that could only mean that we're getting 2 new evolutions in Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. But what types would these new, absolutely guaranteed evolutions have? Well, to me, that would have to be based on the overall game. Sylveon, the Fairy-type evolution, came in a game that introduced the Fairy-type, just like Umbreon came in a game that introduced the Dark-type, despite me believing that partnering its release with Espeons is mostly because of the day and night cycle that we had in Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver. And this is all really nice, but we can't really explain Glaceon and Leafeon through those same lens, so it's possible it's all just random and how they see fit. But if we follow that route, then we have to say that yeah, it could be any type, and that is not fun, so we have to pick a lane. So let's look at what we already know about these games and try to think of 2 new types for 2 new evolutions. First, Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. Waves is obviously for water, and we already have Vaporeon, but Winds is for flying, so a flying type evolution would just be wonderful in a game where it even appears that clouds might have some form of influence in the gameplay. I would call it Nimbian from Nimbus, Wingian from Wings, or even Galeon from Gale. It could evolve if leveled up with some kind of flying type move, or when you used X amount of feather items on it, or even when leveled up holding an air balloon, for example. Or if we do go to the clouds, which I do think we will, this Eevee could evolve when in that environment, similar to how Glaceon and Leafeon evolve when close to the ice or moss rocks. But what about the other one? Well, for that you'll have to trust my theory that the evil team for Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves will be focusing on deforestation and pollution. And that's why I'd go with the poison type evolution that not only would offer Sylveon an evolution counter, but also end up as the ace for the leader of that evil organization, or at least an important admin. I would name it Toxian from Toxic, Blightian from Blight, or even Smogian from Smog, though Toxian is the better of the bunch. It could evolve when leveled up with a poison move or when holding the Black Sludge, Poison Barb, or Poison Gem item. But once again, in reality, I am not that confident that we'll get new evolutions. Maybe my heart has been broken way too many times already. Still, they are perfect for marketing. They are incredibly popular Pokemon every single time, and every merchandise they're in just sells like crazy, just like their TCG products. So maybe they'll do it, and if they do, Flying and Poison are my guesses. But what about you? Do you think they'll do new evolutions, and if so, what types are you expecting? Let me know in the comments down below. And now, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. But before I go, I want to thank my YouTube members Good Old Deo, Sean Speaks and Dash Plays, and my Twitch subscribers Anubis Here, Zanes222, Lazarix, The Dr. Joe, and Teixeira23 for going that extra mile. Thank you so much for all of your support.